fire and water. Like, we are total opposites. And Francis is a Sagittarius.
Y'all know how them Sagittarius get down.
So my wife is all over the place. By the way, she's also been diagnosed with ADD.
Sucks, but hey, it is what it is.
And me, because I'm a Cancer, I'm calm, I'm chill, but I'm very emotional. And I was raised by all women, so I'm super emotional.
Extra.
You can easily hurt me. There was a time where drug use almost caused the end of Francis and Floyd. I was diving into my radio career at the time, trying to do something with my life. I had found something that I could be passionate about and really fight through and make something out of it. She was willing to be my support system and be the breadwinner at the time where I wasn't making any money. I think my paycheck was like $124 every 2 weeks.
Sure was.
Because I went from intern to being in the promotions department. And she took over the finances and was paying for everything. Because of that, I wasn't around a lot. I was always just grinding. And Frances dove into a world that kind of almost destroyed her.
It all really goes back to what you started with about who we are as individuals. He's a Cancer, I'm a Sagittarius. So any of you who follow astrology, you know I can't be tamed. I want to be the life of the party. I'm constantly doing something, whereas he's more grounded and family oriented. And at the time, you know, being 20, 21 years old, you're just growing as a person. And I can definitely say that we wouldn't be here today, 20 years later, if it wasn't because of who we are. Over the years, who I am has helped him and who he is has helped me. We balance each other. I give him life. He calms me down. And if it wasn't for that, I can't say that I'd be sitting here today because he saved my life.
You saved my life because I was so serious. I didn't know how to have fun. I took everything serious. I was always trying to focus on what's the next move. And what that did in turn is made you feel like I didn't love you. And I didn't care about you because I was more focused on my career and trying to make things happen. But in all actuality, I may not have expressed it because I was young and immature, but you were the driving force. You and the babies were the driving force behind me getting my together. I had kids and I didn't want to be the man that my father was. So you, in my mind, was my inspiration. You were my motivation, and I used you as fuel. And I used the babies as fuel to make something of myself. And I wouldn't be where I am right now if I didn't have you as my motivation. If I didn't have you as like my muse, the person to excite me and get me excited about life.
Anybody who knows me knows that I am a fixer. My goal in life is to help everyone around me. I see the good in everyone, no matter what it is that they have. I don't look at dysfunction. I don't look at problems. And my goal in life is to make everybody happy, make sure that they're okay. That's just who I am. And at that time in our life, I'm putting a lot of energy into a lot of different things, into my children, into my friends, into my relationship. And there's all these things going on around me. But what about me? So I spent a lot of time helping individuals. And in that time, I finally made a decision that I was going to live my life. You know, I was going to do what made Sarah happy. And I ended up actually dibbling and dabbling with some drugs at one point in my life, which I would call a downtime in my life. You know, when everybody's working on their radio career and everybody's doing all these things, I'm stuck in my mind thinking, what are you doing with your life? What's going on? You know, I had to deal with a lot of the radio life, you know, groupies and women and, you know, any women out there who know it's a lot. If you don't have trust with somebody, if you don't have those things, it's a wrecking ball. And I was just going through a whirlwind of emotions. And at the same time, I was really hanging around with a lot of toxic people who also had a lot of issues. Fast forward that story, I ended up hanging out with some girls and having fun. And, you know, they told me, hey, here's a little bit of something, you know, and me, hey, being the Sagittarius that I am, I wanted to, it's my birthday, you know, all these little girls are having fun in the bathroom stall, putting stuff up their nose. I want to do it too. You know what I mean? Like, I can do it. I'm sure I can do it once and be fine. Like, big deal. And at the time, I thought I was snorting some cocaine, which all drugs are bad. And the next day I was still awake and I was dying, and I was like, what's going on with me? What kind of drug is this? And you know, I called some people up and was like, why am I feeling this way? And they're like, oh, have fun. You just got to do it again. And I did it again. And at that point I realized, like, whoa, what is this stuff? Like, now I understand why individuals get stuck on these drugs, because the way you feel when it starts to disintegrate and go away is like death. When I say death, like death. And if you're weak, you don't want to feel that. And I did it again. And it was nothing at the time until I started to realize, like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? But all I remember is that drug made me feel so happy. It made me feel like Superman, like super mom, like everything that was negative in my life. And anybody who knows me, I've been through a lot of different things in my life, but I just felt amazing. And it scared me. It scared me. It scared me so bad that when I saw how normal it was with all the people around me, and how I saw that nobody around me really cared that they were giving me these things, and that I had a son at home and that this could affect me, I was blessed enough to be able to say, you know what? I'm not doing this no more. I'm not doing this no more. And I stopped. It was something that was short-lived, just a few days of it, but it opened my eyes to a scary world.
Yeah.
And it showed me that I could leave everything that I ever knew behind. The drug was stronger than my brain. But I stopped. But in reality, what really saved me is when he found out about me doing those drugs.
Again, we'll go back to the fact that I loved Frances to my core. I just did a very poor job of showing her how much I loved her. At this particular time, my best friend was dating this particular person. And he comes to me and he's like, yo, I just want you to know that my girl and your girl, you know, they've been doing meth together, and made it seem like it was, and I didn't know the story behind it. I didn't know it was like a short-lived 3 days. She tried something and it turned into chaos for her. The way he explained it was as if she was a meth addict. And I was like, this girl is this good that I could never tell. And then it makes me think maybe I just didn't spend enough time with her to see her high or under the influence, right? So in my mind, I went from 0 to 100 immediately. I am engaged to a drug addict. And that is not something that I see for myself ever. My thing is, even with the children, I tell them to this day, I love you more than you love yourself. I will always be here for you, no matter what. But one thing I will never do is sit back and watch you destroy yourself. That is the time, and I want you to understand, that is the time that dad will turn his back on you. That is the time where I turned my back on Frances and I said, I can't do this. I love you too much to watch you destroy yourself. And here's the problem with people who are heavy on drugs. They don't realize that they're bringing their families with them on this journey, and it destroys them. It destroys your family. And it's very selfish. Drug abusers are very, very selfish, and they don't know any better. They're just chasing the next high. So I didn't want to go on this journey with her. And I was prepared to fight her in court, even though I had no teeth in the game, because Aaron does not have my last name. He's biologically not mine. There's other family members that are ahead of me, i.e. his grandfather and his aunt Maggie. But I was going to fight to be in his life. And she was like, it's not what you think it is. Let me explain. She even went and took a drug test.
I had already quit days prior to him finding out. I made that decision on my own. I called the people that I was doing it with and was like, you know what? This is not me. And I honestly don't know who you are, because at the time I started to find out all of these different things. Might I tell you, the drug that I thought I was taking was cocaine. Come to find out days later, it was methamphetamine. When you're naive to drugs, you don't know what white substance you're snorting up your nose. But let me tell you, my body knew exactly what it was. Yeah. So I immediately cut ties with the individuals, which caused a whole nother story in its own. But what really did it for me is I had already made that decision for me. But when he found out about it, it made me angry, because
it wasn't true what I thought.
It wasn't true what you thought, but I didn't get the credit for being a strong individual and making that choice for myself. I was going to eventually tell you, I know I would have, but I was so upset because you thought that's who I was. That's what I was doing. I tried it. I didn't keep doing it. I took the drug test to try to prove to you, but that wasn't stopping him. He was done. And I understand. You don't even know who I am.
That's how I felt. I was like,
meth?
Who is this?
It sounds terrible, right?
Yeah.
He's the type of guy who is not about to stay around and be destroyed by anybody else. And I take that is a skill to have.
And by the way, keep in mind, I had never done drugs.
Ever.
I hadn't had a drink of alcohol at that point in my life yet. I didn't start drinking until I was 27.
He didn't even curse.
Now I enjoy it. I enjoy the occasional curse word and the occasional drink, but back then it wasn't happening.
Yeah, and I
was just focused, you know.
And I didn't do any drugs. I didn't drink. I didn't smoke marijuana. I didn't do anything. This was just, you call it a midlife crisis at 21. Call it that. But I dibbled and dabbled in something, and he was willing to just, if this is who you want to be, I can't be no part of it. And he packed all this stuff and
dipped.
It broke me. It broke me so bad. And not even anybody in my family cared as much as he did. It was just like, why are you doing that? But literally saying like, I'm going to take your son and, I'm not going to deal with this. And I was newly engaged, and it broke me to a point of no return. And all I needed to do was explain to him that he does know who I am. That is not who I am. It doesn't define who I am. And I'm lucky enough to be able to get that opportunity to sit down and him listen to me. A lot of people don't get that opportunity, but him listen to me and us work through it. At the end of the day, you have to protect yourself. You have to protect yourself. I know that if I would have protected myself, I probably never would have done that. But I had a problem with clinging to people.
Yeah.
Trying to save everybody. And I wanted this person to be the best person that they could ever be. I helped this person out of rehab 3 times. I helped this person become a better mom several times. I tried to use my examples to help her. And the demons sucked me in. My son, he had to have been like 3 or 4 at the time. And they're so innocent. They have no idea what's going on. But I was dying. And any of you guys who go through a breakup, you know what I mean. And my son came in with some food and was like, don't cry, mommy. Eat food. It's going to be okay. And at that moment, I was like, what are you doing? Like, you have a son who needs you. You're about to lose everything that you have. And that thought was the most terrifying thing that I have ever experienced in my entire life. That was enough for me to say, I'm never doing that again. And that is the hardest drug to get off of. But all it took was these 2 men, these 2 boys in my life to save me.
If you can walk away from this podcast, from listening to this podcast, and look at your life a little bit different, look at the mistakes or the things that you've been through, because I got some demons too that we're going to be discussing on different episodes. If you can walk away feeling like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. If they can make it through, I can make it through. If it makes you feel a little bit better about your marriage or your relationship, then we did our job. There we go. Hey. My name is Floyd.
Francis.
My name is Floyd.
Francis.
And this is the Francis and Floyd podcast. We'll see you guys soon, episode 3.
Bye.